Today we will learn file handling. This is part 5. Before learning this video, you have to learn first, second, third, fourth part of this video. Otherwise, you can't get this video clearly. Up to this point, we have been using text mode to read and write data to and from the file. Text mode means text file is considered as sequence of character or sequence of bits represent character. Today we will learn how we can read and write data to and from the file using the binary mode. Binary mode means what? Binary files is not a text file. It is like audio, video, picture files. So today we will learn the function fwrite and fread. Fread and fwrite functions are commonly used to read and write binary data to and from the file respectively. Although we can also use them with text mode too. Fwrite and fread make task easier when you want to write and read blocks of data like structure. So the function fwrite. The syntax of the function is return type is integer, function name is fwrite, parameters are there is one void pointer buffer, one integer variable size, another integer variable count, and there is another file pointer fp. Now what is buffer? Buffer is points to the block of memory which contains the data items to be written. So buffer holds the base address of that memory which contains the data items to be written. Then size, it specifies the number of bytes of each item to be written. Then how many number of bytes of each item to be written, size specifies that. Then count, this is the number of element, each one with a size of variable, this variable size. Then fp, it is a pointer to the file where data items will be written. So fp holds the address of the file structure. On that file data items will be written. Now on success, it returns the count of the number of items successfully written to the file, and on error it returns a number less than the variable count. Take different examples, then it will be more clear. First, writing a variable in a file using fwrite function. So I declare one float variable f. Now if I want to write this variable to a particular file, you have to write fwrite, then address of f means address of this variable, then size of this variable. How many variables are there? Only one. So you have to write one, and then where you want to write, you have to give that file pointer. So this writes the value of the variable f to the file. Example 2, writing an array. So I declare one array and also initialize it. Now you have to write fwrite, then address of the base address of the array means array name, then size of this array, then I want to write entire array, just write one here, and in which file you have to write, you have to give that file pointer fp. So this writes the entire array into the file. Example 3, writing some elements of the array means again I declare one integer array of 3 elements and initialize it, but I want to write first 2 elements of the array into the file. So you have to write fwrite, then base address of the array, then size of int. Size of int means here say it is 4 bytes, so size of int means 4, and I want to write first 2 elements, just give 2, and then it is the file pointer where you want to write this first 2 elements of this array. Example 4, how to write structure. I declare one structure. First I define this structure student. There is one character array for name, one integer variable for roll, one float variable for marks. Now when I write struct student, when I declare the variable of this structure type student, then I initialize by the value. Now if you want to write this structure, you have to write ampersand student underscore 1. This is the student structure variable. This structure variable is student underscore 1. Then size of this structure. So size of this structure. So size of the variable of this structure. So size of student underscore 1. I want to write one variable. So only I want to store these values. So you have to write 1 here. Then how many variables are there here? 1. And then this is the file pointer where you want to write. So please write the contents of a variable student underscore 1 into the file. Example number 5, writing array of structure. Here it is array of structure. Say I define one structure student. There is one character array for name, one integer variable for role, one float variable for marks. Now this is array of structure. So struct student 3, and I initialize by the corresponding value. Now, when I write fwrite, then students means the base address of this structure, base address of this array of structure. So, students, then size of students means total size, then 1. So, this writes the whole array students into the file. That file is pointed by fp. Let's say we don't want to write all elements of the array into the file. Instead of, we want to write only 0th element and the first element of the array into the file. So just change this just syntax. Here you have to write same like base address of this array student. This is array of structure, base address of this array student. Then size of struct student. Size of each structure means size of structure, this structure. Then 2 means I just want to store or want to write only 0th and first element of the array into the file. So you have to write 2 and fp is the pointer that points to that particular file where we want to write. Take one programming example, then it will be more clear. Write a program to see how fwrite works, to see how fwrite is used to write content to the file. First, you have to include the header file stdio.h. Then I define one structure employee. A structure employee is declared which has 4 members. First is an array of characters. Designation is also an array of characters. Age is of type integer. Salary is of type float. Along with the structure definition of the variable emp of type structure employee is also declared here. Now in main there are 3 variables n and I and cats are declared as type int, and there is a structure pointer fp of type struct5 is also declared here, this one. Fopen function is called with 2 arguments, namely employee.txt. We want to open the text file employee.txt and wb. This is the mode of the file. On success, it returns a pointer to file employee.txt and opens the file employee.txt in write only mode. But on failure, it returns null. fp returns null. If statement is used to test, this if statement is used to test the value of fp. If it is null, printf statement prints the error message and program terminates. Otherwise, the program continues with the statement following the if statement. Here, the program asks the user how many records he or she wants to enter and store the number in the variable n. There is one for loop. Ask the user to enter 4 pieces of information, that is the name, designation, age and salary. See the line f plus std in. flush function is called the flush, means remove the new line character from the standard input which was entered while entering the number of records. If there had been no call to flush std in, then getS function would have read the new line character from the standard input and does not wait for the user input. Now this fwrite function is called to write the structure variable emp into the file in the binary mode. So into the file in the binary mode. On success, fwrite returns the number of items written to the file. Here we are writing the data of a single structure variable, so fwrite will return 1. On error, it will return a number less than 1. The return value of fwrite is then assigned to the chars variable, chars variable. Here, the printf statement prints the number of items successfully written to the file. Then finally, fclose fp. Fclose function is used to close the file. Now see the code, how this program works. So this is our program. This is the structure employee. The variable name of structure employee is emp. These are the variables declared in main. This is file pointer. Open the file in write mode. Now if fp returns null, then there was some error. Otherwise, take the number of records user want to enter. It is stored in the variable n. Now start one for loop from 0 to n and get these values for name, designation, age and salary. Now after that fwrite function, it is the address of employee variable, then size of employee variable, then this one is the number of such structure that we want to write at one time. In this case, we want to write only one structure at a time, and this is the file pointer which points to the file where we want to write. So after that, I want to print the number of items written to the file. So print the value of chars, then close the file. Now when we want to run the file, enter the number of records you want to enter. Say 2. Enter the details of employee number 1. Say the name is say designation, ages, salaries, second employee name is say designation, ages say salaries. Now it is written. So the file name is what? File name is employee.txt and this C file name is fwrite.c. So see the folder fwrite.c. Where is our file fwrite.c? Fwrite. This is our file fwrite.c file, and the new file where our record is already written, it is employee. What is that? Employee.txt. It should be created in the same folder. So this one is employee.txt. Now if I open this file, see there is some garbage value because we opened our file in binary mode. To read this file clearly, we have to learn fwrite function. Take another example. I write one structure book. The elements are one integer variable book ID, one character array for title, one float variable price. So here in void main, I declare one variable of book type, struct book type. Say the variable name is B1. It is created on RAM. There is one file pointer. I declare one file pointer which holds the address of file structure. So the file pointer name is fp. Now when I write fopen function, this file f5.txt, if it was already created, then that file, by using fopen, that file comes to RAM and store it in the buffer. There is one buffer pointer which points the first byte of the file, and there is another pointer fp which points the address of the file structure. The file f5.txt has now been opened in binary mode using WB. The information obtained about the book from the keyboard is placed in the structure B1. See here, take the values, title, then price, etc. And these are stored in the variable B1. Then there is fwrite function, this function. This statement writes the structure to the file. Here the first argument is the address of the structure to be written to the disk. The second argument is the size of the structure in bytes. Instead of counting the bytes occupied by the structure ourselves, we let the program do it for us by using the size of operator. This one. Size of operator gives the size of the variable in bytes. This keeps the program unchanged in even of the situation, even of the change in the elements of the structure. The third argument is the number of such structure that we want to write at one time. In this case, we want to write only one structure at a time. This one. And this last argument is the pointer to the file we want to write to. Now after writing, you have to close the file, and after closing, all this file again saved to the hard disk. Now see the code. So this is our code. This is book structure. Now here in main I declare variable b1 of type struct book. This is file pointer. Now get the value for book ID, then title, and then price from the user, and then you have to open the file f5.txt in WB mode. f5.txt in WB mode. If fp returns null, then there was some error. Otherwise, using fwrite, you can write this file, means you can write this variable value to the file. So here first b1 is what? This is the first argument, is the address of the structure to be written to the disk, this b1. Then second is size of b1. Size of operator gives the size of the variable in bytes. This keeps the program unchanged in even the change in the elements of the structure. Now this one, the third argument, this one is the number of such structure that we want to write at one time. Here we want to write only one structure at a time, and this is file pointer. It is the pointer to the file we want to write to. Now, after that, close fp, close the file. Now see, function our program name is program number 5, writing in a file using fwrite.c. So where is our file? In this directory. So this is our file, writing in a file using fwrite. Okay. Now I want to write to this file f5.txt. Is there any file named f5.txt? See, there is no file using f5.txt. So when we run the program, enter book ID, say I give 1, enter title, I give say C programming, next enter price, say 100 rupees. Now close it. Now check our file name is f5.txt, whether that file is created or not. See here f5, see there is one new file f5.txt. Open this file. See here the file is created but the content is not clear because we open the file in binary mode. So to read the content perfectly, we have to learn fread function. Our next function is fread. It is just the complementary function of fwrite. Fread function is used to read content from file in binary mode. So the syntax is return type is int, function name is fread. There is one void pointer buffer, one integer variable size, another integer variable count, and one file pointer, which points to the address of the file structure. So buffer, what is buffer? This is the pointer to a block of memory with a minimum size of size into count, number of bytes. Then size, this is the size in bytes of each element to be read. Count, this is the number of element, each one with a size of this variable size. And finally, ptr, this is the pointer to a file object that specifies an input stream. So this is the pointer which points to that particular file from which we want to read using fread function. Now see different examples, then the syntax of fread will be more clear for you. First one is reading a float value from the file. So I declare one integer variable val, then you have to write fread, then address of val, then size of int because it is integer variable, and then one, I want to read one variable at a time, and fp is the file pointer which points to that particular file structure from which we want to read, from which file, from that file we want to read. So this reads the float value from the file and store it in the variable val. Now example 2, reading an array from the file. I declare one integer array of size 10. Now you have to write fread, then base address of the array, then size of ARR. Size of ARR means here it is integer array. So integer takes 4 bytes. So 4 into 10, 40 bytes. 1, and then you have to write fp. fp points to that file from which we want to read. So this reads an array of 10 integers from the file and store it in the variable ARR. So in this way, reading an entire array is possible. Now example number 3, reading the first 5 elements of an array. So this array contains 10 elements. There are 10 elements in this array. Size of this array is 10, but we want to read only first 5 elements. So you have to write fread, then base address of the array. But in place of in the previous case, here you have to write size of ARR, but in this case you have to write size of int. Then how many elements you want to write from the array? Sorry, you want to read from the array. It is 5, so you have to write 5 here. Then fp points to that file from which we want to read. Then this reads 5 integers from the file and store it in the variable ARR. Example 4. Reading the structure variable. So I define one structure student. There is one character array for name, one integer variable roll number, and one float variable marks. Now I declare one variable student underscore one of type struct student. Now if I want to read this structure from the file, so you have to write fread, then impression student underscore one, that is the address of this variable, then size of this structure, size of student underscore one, then one, and then fp is the pointer from which file we want to read. So these read the contents of a structure variable from the file and store it in the variable student underscore one. Now example number 4, reading an array of structure. So again I define that structure student. Now here I declare one array of structure. So you have to write struct student ARR student 100 for 100 student. So what is the syntax of fread? You have to write fread, then base address of this array. So ARR underscore student, array name means the base address of the array, then size of this structure. So size of struct student of this structure. Now I just want to read first 10 elements of type struct student from the file. So here I write 10. Then fp point to that particular file from which we want to read. So this read first 10 elements of type struct student from the file and store them in the variable ARR underscore student. Take one programming example of fread. How fread is used to read content of the file in binary mode. See, here a structure employee is declared along with the variable EMP. The structure employee has 4 members, namely name, designation, age, and salary. Now in main there is one file pointer fp. fp point to the address of the that file structure from which we want to read. So a structure pointer fp of type struct file is declared here. Now see, I want to open the file employee.txt in read mode and in binary format. So you have to write within double quotes employee.txt and within double quotes RB. fopen function is called with two arguments, namely employee.txt and this RB. On success, it returns a pointer to file employee.txt and opens the file employee.txt in read-only mode. On failure, it returns null. So, if statement is used to test the value of fp. If it is null, printf statement prints error message and program terminates. Otherwise, the program continues with the statement following the if statement. Testing of fread function. First, a while loop is used along with fread to read the contents of the file. The fread function reads the records stored in the file one by one and store it in the structure variable EMP. The fread function will keep returning 1 until there are records in the file. As soon as the end of the file is encountered, fread will return a value less than 1 and the condition in the while loop becomes false. This condition becomes false and the control comes out of this while loop. Then you have to close the file. So fclose function is used to close the file. Now see the code. So this is our code. Our program name is fread1.c. Now we define one structure employee. The variable name is emp. Now this is file pointer fp. I open the file employee.txt in read mode and in binary format. Now if fp returns null, then there is one printf statement, error opening files. Otherwise, there is one while loop. It reads records one by one and print the record. This loop will continue till the value less than 1 will read. Now close the file. So first see what is the directory in which folder this file is located, fread1.c. So fread1.c, in this folder fread1, just a minute. See, this is our file, our C file fread1.c. Now I want to read which file, employee.txt. Okay, so in the same folder, search employee.txt, employee.txt, this file. Open this file. See the content of the file. See this one. There is some garbage value because this file is written in binary format using fwrite function. We already written this file. So now we have to read this file using fread. It is written in binary format using fwrite function. So just close the file and run this program. Now see, I get the required output clearly. So the file that is written using fwrite function is read clearly using fread function. So in this way, fwrite and fread function works. Take another programming example of fread. So here we define one structure book. The variables are one integer variable book ID, one character array for title, and one float variable for price. Now in main, we declare one variable b1 of type struct book and one file pointer fp point to that file structure. Fp hold the address of that file structure from which we want to read. So the file is saved in this hard disk f5.txt. It is a text file. Now when I use the function fopen f5.txt using RB mode, f5.txt comes to RAM and store this file is stored in the, it is loaded into this buffer, and there is one buffer pointer which points to this file, the first byte of this file, and there is one file pointer which points the address of the file structure, and we open it in RB mode for reading purpose and it is in binary format. If fp returns null, then there is one printf statement, file not found. Otherwise, we start one while loop. Within while loop, the fread function causes the data read from the disk to be placed in the structure variable, this b1. The format of fread is same as that of fwrite function. The function fread returns the number of records read. Ordinarily, this should correspond to the third argument, this 1. The number of record we ask for 1 in this case. If we have reached the end of file, since fread cannot read anything, it returns a 0. By testing for this situation, we know when to stop reading. So this is our structure, this is our variable b1, and we read using this function fread. then print the value in the output console. After that, close the file. So using fclose, we close the file. So see the code. First, you have to include the header file stdio.h. Then we define one structure book. This is the variable, declare one variable b1 of struct book type. Then one file pointer fp, which points to that particular file from which we want to read. Now our file is f5.txt. We have to read from this file. So using fopen, we open the file in read mode, and it is a binary. It is in binary format. Now, if fp returns null, then file not found. There is one printf statement that file not found. Otherwise, there is one while loop. Within while loop, you have to write fread. So fread function read the data, and if we have reached the end of file, since fread cannot read anything, it returns a 0. By testing for this situation, we know when to stop reading. Then print the value of book ID, title and price in the output console. After that, close the file. Now, our function name is, our program name is fread.c. So, see the folder where this file is saved. So, our C file is fread.c, this one. In the same folder, in the same directory, this file is also saved, f5.txt, from where we want to read. So, search where is f5. This is our text file f5.txt. Now open this file. See, we can't read this file. We can't read this file because it is written using fwrite function in binary format. So, if I want to read this particular file, you have to use fread function. So, fread function can read the file in binary format. So, when we run this program, see, now the output is clear. Book ID is 1, title is C programming, and price is this. So, in this way, we can read the file written in binary format using fwrite function. Using fread function, we can read that particular file. So, this is your assignment number 9, part 4. Try to solve this problem and feel free to ask any question. For getting more and more updates, please subscribe my channel. That's all for today. Thank you.